Just tell them we're setting up.
All right, we're just going to get started very soon. Let's get this ball rolling. As people join. It's going to be an interesting topic.
Is this one going?
Oh, yes.
Let's try and be as close as possible. Oh, that's right. We want to do this. Sorry.
Yeah, that's good. So interfering.
I'm going to do this instead.
A lot of press about aging. So we will talk about aging, no doubt. Aging is the biggest risk factor for disease. So if we understand that, then we can kill two birds with one stone. And there's not two distinct things, they're one and the same, meaning that if you can stay biologically young, then you're going to also prevent disease. And, so the two go hand in hand. All right, we'll get started soon. All right.
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to talk about the 5 secrets to slowing down aging, and they are not dissimilar to the things that may accelerate aging. So keeping your heart young, keep your immune system young, keeping your liver function very, very healthy. And I've written a few things down here. The blood vessel and the heart go hand in hand. And so those are the 5 things, you know, the brain age, the cardiovascular age, particularly the blood vessels, the liver age and the immune age, they go hand in hand. Those are the key things that will determine your biological age. And your biological age is the biggest risk factor for disease. So the 3 statements I want to make people understand is that the number 1 risk factor for disease is aging. Now let's look at some of the similarities that are out there already. What's the biggest risk factor for hospitalization and death from COVID? Aging. And so the fact is that this age is not just a cosmetic thing, although we can discuss that. You know, what I'd really like is a good series of questions related to aging and disease and everything in between. But what's the biggest risk factor for cancer? Aging. So to dismiss what's out there right now, there's a lot of labs now offering aging, and some of them are for $99, some of them are for $199. And I tell you, you get what you pay for, because there is no way you can do the gold standard in epigenetic aging for $99. So you get what you pay for. And I'm not here to tell you about pricing and getting a deal. What I want to tell you about is the fact that aging, the gold standard for aging measurement is the epigenetic age. We had used the telomere length that had value. It still has value. But now we have the methylation the patterns related to biological aging, and that is the gold standard. So I did tell you that we're going to talk about the 5 secrets of slowing down the aging process, which are not dissimilar to 5 common things. So when I do my executive physical, as part of the plan is to look at the brain age, because not only the function of the brain is important, but your immune system will be determined by the brain function. For example, the people who are depressed have a low immune function. People who have anxiety or insomnia have low blood flow in their brain. So the brain, whether you like it or not, has metrics related to aging. And so the age of the brain will determine not only your biological age, but many, many other factors. But don't forget, the brain is even more powerful in ways we don't understand, because all the choices in our lifestyle, what we eat, what we don't eat, how much we exercise, they boil down to your behavior, which is a brain thing. So when you have brain energy, you're more likely to be active. You're more likely to have a positive outlook on life. I mean, you can write a book or a chapter on just positive outlook on life. I'm a medical doctor, so we're going to stick to medical facts as much as possible. So really, the brain is a really, really big factor. People ask about, will concussion result in faster aging? It can in some people, you know. This is a really good question. We're going to save a few questions if I can just go through the 5 real quick, but keep the questions coming. We'll write those down. So the brain is one of the things that I really think is very important. The next one, you're only as old as your blood vessels. Have you heard that phrase? You're only as old as your blood vessels. So the more you exercise, the more you keep it healthy. Now, I didn't put exercise as one of the five is because, exercise is like eating good diet. It's your lifestyle, going to sleep on time. So I kind of gave my 5 interpretations. But again, those are the environmental things. Those are the lifestyle choices things. But we can actually measure your biological age, your epigenetic age. That is the way the methylation patterns are on the different locations in your DNA, and the rate of methylation will determine your biological age, your true age. So it doesn't matter what your date of birth is, it doesn't matter your chronological age, it's your biological age. So I always say if you're 80 years old but your biological age is 50, then you're good. You don't need a vaccine, you don't need to worry about stroke. And conversely, you could be 40 years old but you could have a biological age of 65, then you better to get a vaccine. You better think about strokes and heart attacks, and you better take medication if you have multiple risk factors, things like that. Okay, so then the blood vessel age for me in my executive physical is a piece of equipment that I have that uses a computer to actually measure the central arterial pressure, which is far more accurate than your brachial arterial pressure. The further you go away from the heart, the less accurate your blood pressure reading is. So a central arterial pressure is much more indicative of your pressure around the heart, the pressure that your heart is feeling. And beyond that, we can look at the softness of your blood vessels, because a softer blood vessels means a blood vessel that's able to address and withstand stress. And that means that it has to be elastic. That means it has to be able to expand, dilate, vasodilate. And those are indicative of a very elastic, healthy blood vessel system. So you may say, well, isn't that the same as the heart? Well, not quite, because the heart is very much three-dimensional in different ways, because it has valves, it has a lining, it has the muscle, it has the covering, the pericardium. So it's a little bit different. But of course, they are related, no doubt. But as far as the heart, we primarily think of coronary arteries, because heart disease primarily means coronary artery disease. That is the biggest risk factor for heart attack. That is the biggest risk factor for heart disease. And of course, if you have unhealthy, stiff blood vessels around your body, it doesn't bode well for the state of your heart, not least because you probably have high blood pressure, and that your muscle in the heart will get bigger and become less efficient. And so you have to consider them in 3 dimensions. So I look at the advanced cardiac test as my way of looking at the cardiac age of somebody. So I talked about the brain age, the blood vessel age, the cardiac age. How about the immune age? The immune system is very complicated, but we've got to simplify it. If you could have one thing, just one thing, you'd want the immune age. I'll tell you why. Because only good things happen when your immune system is robust, and only bad things happen when it's not robust. See the way I use the word robust? It is a lot of range and function, and as far as the medical world is concerned, there is either normal or abnormal. That's not correct at all. So if you have a very robust immune system, then you're less likely to have inflammation. If you have a robust immune system, you can repair better. What do I mean? If you come out of surgery, what determines how fast you recover? Your immune system. So although the surgery went well, I'm assuming, it doesn't guarantee you're going to heal, because it's your immune system. You've got to feed the immune system. You have to make sure things don't impact the immune system. And they're all interconnected. Your immune health is dependent on your liver health, is dependent on your cardiac health, is dependent on your brain health. They're all interdependent. That's why the biological age is not a standalone. We are going to talk about the aging itself, because it is the biggest risk factor for cancer. It is the biggest risk factor for heart disease. It is the biggest risk factor for disease as a whole. So we must not only measure it, but look at the things that impact it, and we must be able to make changes that are not only subjective. That means you can feel the difference. You have to be able to have objective metrics, and the ultimate objective metric is called the epigenetic age. And anybody that tells you anything else is wrong. There is no substitute for the epigenetic age, but we don't think it stands on its own, because you got to have a strong immune system. In fact, we have what we call the extrinsic epigenetic age, which is more indicative of your immunological age, which is very, very important, because when your immune system is robust, when you're biologically young in your immune system, you can prevent from cancers, you can prevent for heart disease, you can prevent dementia, you can prevent the infections. That's why it's so important not just to just have what is called wait for a disease, wait for abnormality. No, you don't wait for abnormalities. And this is a good opportunity to say that, there are 5 stages of cell decline, and most doctors diagnose at stage 4 and 5. We need to understand stage 1 and 2 and start working in our 30s, or maybe sooner. But 30s is the very, very good age to start. 40s is definitely not too late. 50 is definitely something you better get on with it, because beyond 50 is when most diseases present anyway. And they don't present overnight. It's because there was a decline in your physiological function from your probably 20s, frankly, but definitely in the 30s and 40s, when people are busy with their career, they're busy with their children, they're busy, just with life. But unfortunately, as they get success this way, then the health goes this way, and we don't want that. That's why I'm educating people to understand that the destiny of their health is in their hands. And this is not something that the doctor gifted you with. It's in your hands. It's up to you to deal with it. When you fail to do it, you're going to end up seeing doctors like us. So just to change the pace real quick, I'm a medical doctor, if people don't know. I have offices in Virginia, Maryland. Virginia and Maryland. We do not only face-to-face consultations and physicals and ultra health programs, but we also do remote physicals, and we actually do memberships even outside, remotely, in other words. So keep that in mind. So the one final one, the liver, very, very quickly, the function of the liver is so incredibly intertwined with the immune system, and it determines your body's ability to prevent disease in so many complex ways that we must understand the function of it by looking at the level of toxic burden on it, actual function of it, and other things that interfere with it. And so, although it's complicated, I'm going to simplify it for you. So some of the questions that started coming in: what are the symptoms of biological age? Well, number one would be just feeling low energy, right? Even though that is not a marker for aging, imagine if you go through months and years with low energy. How can that bode well for your well-being? Because energy is a very complicated phenomena. At the lowest level, at the molecular level, we talk about the mitochondria, but the mitochondria is impacted by your lifestyle. So it can create the things that damage mitochondria, affect energy, like oxidation, inflammation, toxicity, all the 5 biological systems I just talked about. If you don't take care of them, your mitochondria gets hit. And then you don't have energy. So it's not a temporary thyroid thing. It's not a temporary, I didn't sleep well night. That's sleep well at night. That's why I don't have energy. We're talking about persistent energy deficit is really a lack of mitochondrial function, which then can lead to fatty liver disease, dementia, heart disease, heart failure. These are, right now we haven't connected them with the medical, but it will eventually have to align, because that's the way it is. So the symptoms of biological age, one could be aging. The other one is like aches and pains and stiffness, But again, we're not talking about a temporary thing. The day you don't sleep, you'll feel more stiff, but it's temporary. We're talking about persistent stiffness, aches and pains, because that could be a sign of inflammation. And inflammation happens when your immune system is not as robust. In other words, your biological age of your immune system is not that good. See the interconnection of all of these things. And so other symptoms of biological aging might be, if the doctor diagnoses that you've got arthritis in your joints, well, that's a sign of aging. If my brain scan shows that your brain speed, so I can tell the brain speed, but you could tell your brain speed. Just look at the way, how long it takes you to process things. Look at the way your brain takes time to convey the signal from the brain to your hand, the physical reaction time. All these are related, and it's not to do with your chronological age, because in my mid-40s, I could see a decline in that brain speed. I could feel, I should say, a decline in that function. And so not only was I able to compare the scan from like 5-6 years ago to present, but I could feel the difference. My brain speed had gone back up to the optimal, and my physical reaction time was also just as good. So they're all connected. So when you talk about energy, by the way, just real quick, that there's a couple of interesting ways to look at it. Because when you're mentally fatigued, you could feel just as tired as being physically fatigued. So it's very important to understand that your state of mind is just as important as the well-being of your body, and the body and the mind go hand in hand. And there's lots of science to connect those up. More questions coming in, so we will definitely talk about diet and exercise in there because there's a lot of science now, more than ever before. So those are some of the common symptoms of aging. What else can I say? Oxidation, right? Look at this, oxidation. That's aging. Now, I'd like to tell you that I'm perfect. I don't have any evidence of aging. I'll tell you what makes you age. Having stress will make you age. Not sleeping enough will make you age. And guess what? I had 4 kids. And yes, I didn't quite carry them, nor did I deliver them. But, I stayed up for 2 years of each one of their lives because they were bad sleepers. They were bad eaters. And so they had some health issues. So stress from work, stress from sleep deprivation, eating a little bit of junk food when I thought I could get away with it in my 30s. All those contributed to aging. And so what you see now is accumulation of many, many decades. So nobody's immune to aging. So too much sunlight is oxidation. Not enough sleep is oxidation. Eating the wrong food is oxidation. Not sleeping well is oxidation. That it will age you. Inflammation will age you. Oxidation will age you. And, all the bad signals that affect your liver function will age you. Your bad blood vessel health will age you. So you got to protect all those systems. How do we keep the immune system young? And then something about free radicals with a bad diet. They go hand in hand. So when you eat a bad diet, you are now changing the environment of your gut microbial flora. They're the things, the microbial flora are the things that control your immune signals. So when we talk about inflammation, yeah, we can measure in the blood. We know it's coming from the liver, but it's your microbes that send the signal. So it's very, very important to understand your immune system. Not only can we check it in the blood, we have to know that it's connected to the gut and the liver. So the health of the gut is something that we can assess with doing food inflammation tests. You can look for leaky gut and a little bit more than that. And in addition to that, you look at liver function. So when I discretely measured the different systems, I don't do them individually. I should say I do them individually, but we put the algorithm together. So I call that the next health algorithm. The algorithm is not only all the individual systems by age, then putting them together to kind of understand where the risks are. And basically the 3 main risks. We talked about aging, but the number 1 risk for death is from heart disease. Number 2 risk of death is from cancer. Number 3 risk of death is generally related to liver, abnormal liver function like fatty liver, because it comes as a package deal with insulin resistance, which tends to drive number 1 and number 2. And free radicals are saying that your antioxidant levels are low, so oxidation is high. Oxidation is those free radicals. Oxidation are unstable electrons because something leached an electron, making it unstable, creating free radicals. What leached those electrons? Toxins. Heavy metals are a very abundant, common exposure factor, but most people don't look for it. If you don't look for it, you can't find it. So when I see heavy oxidation, I think about exposure to external factors, particularly heavy metals, but basically oxidation is anything that can take away an electron. And when you take away an electron, you get oxidation. That's unstable. It's unstable for all fatty structures like your cholesterol, like your cell membranes, like your nerves, like your brain. So, when people have neurological problems, we actually not only look for oxidation, we actually look for inflammation in the brain, as close as we can with blood testing. So some questions here about fatty liver. So good to have questions because this is the practicality of aging. And what is it? It is using cornflakes daily cause a fatty liver? It can be, because cornflakes is a very refined carbohydrate, not least because it's made from corn, and corn is high in high fructose corn syrup, right? That's where it comes from. So in other words, that any excess carbohydrates you have, your body is likely to store it. And it's designed to actually protect you, because when your liver is able to store things like glycogen, then when you're not eating, you can break that down to make rapid fuel. But the problem is that we keep storing day after day after day, and we don't break it down by burning the fuel. So that's where exercising is important. You know, you have to have a good diet, which is the most important thing in my mind. And then beyond the good diet, exercise is very, very important. What's the ideal body weight for a good immune system? Well, look, that's a very, very good question. And I can't give you an answer because I just don't think that there is one thing. I'd like to look at the body composition. What's your lean body mass? What's the percentage of body fat? So I have a tool that not only measures those things, I look at the intracellular fluid. So if when your intracellular fluid is 60%, that means the fluid inside your cell is 60%. That means that the fluid outside your cell is 40%. I'll just give you an analogy. When people complain of swelling in their feet, that's when the outside extracellular fluid has gone way above 50. It's not early. It's been going on for some time. So why do I bring that up when you ask me a question about body weight? Because when I look at the body weight, I'm trying to look at the entire body composition, the lean body mass, the percentage fat mass. We're also trying to look at the intracellular fluid because it tells a lot about what's going on in the environment. So if you're losing the fluid, it's likely that there's a breach in certain systems, not least the gut, because inflammation is one of the major things that can make you lose the fluid inside. Toxicity, high blood sugar, lack of nutrients in the body, the lack of quality of the cell membrane, which is a fat-soluble substance, and that therefore needs a lot of fat-soluble vitamins and a lot of cholesterol-rich rafts, we call them. Those rafts are the place where insulin sits and other hormones sit. So it's erroneous to assume that cholesterol is bad because cholesterol is an essential part of your cell membrane, and your brain is 75% fat, and therefore it's the healthy fat that you need and not the unhealthy fat. So if you wanted to know what that means, plant fats generally are going to be healthy. Animal fats, you have to be very careful about it, but we can discuss that in more detail. Do you think that diet without gluten helps heart health? So diet without gluten may help your immune system, and that is a entity that needs to be respected because, you know, when you rev up your immune system because of foods that your immune system is reacting to, gluten being one of them, but it could be dairy, it could be eggs, you're now inviting a dysfunctional immune system that can turn on you, which we describe as autoimmune disease. So when people tell you that your autoimmune disease is just genetic, they're wrong. Everybody has genetics. I have genetics, but you can control that genetics with how you control your diet and your lifestyle. My ANA is 100. What do you think? It's borderline. It means nothing. It's non-specific. You know, 1 in 80 is normal. Above that is sort of equivocal. Over 1 in 160, we think about it, but it's just a very generic immune number. I think you know, if it's part of symptomology, that means you're feeling something and you have an ANA of 100, that's a different story. So you never use the number by itself. You want to combine that with how you feel and your family history. So you really, you know, this is a great opportunity to say, we're doing social media. This is not a place for me to diagnose and treat, nor am I trying to, but this is a place for you to get educated, get information, so you can then ask better questions and go to your provider for better specific advice. Energy drinks are bad. Are energy drinks bad for you? It could be bad for a couple of reasons, because number one, you know, there is no free ride energy. If it's immediate, it's caffeine. That's it. End of story. I don't care what they say, and usually they can hide it. They'll hide it under something called proprietary blend. That means that they can make up whatever they want, but instant energy means caffeine. That's it. End of story. If you want energy for your B vitamins, it ain't instant. The ain't means not. So look, there's no free ride. You've got to do it the right way. Energy is underestimated, and just having a quick fix will not fix the problem. It's like saying, you know, your thyroid is a problem or your adrenals has a problem, so you're just gonna use caffeine. Well, that's like putting your accelerator pedal down when the gas tank is almost empty. It's not gonna end well. I felt so much better and more healthy in Ramadan. Agreed. Your body was going through autophagy, hopefully. That means that when you're fasting, not only are you giving your gut a break, you're giving your energy system a break, because, you know, you have only one energy system, whether you like it or not. You're going to either burn fat, protein, carbohydrate. If you want energy for the brain, you want energy for the gut, you want energy for all these things. They can't... they have to go through the same energy highway. So when you are giving your gut a break, you're giving opportunity for energizing the rest of your body, not least your brain. So that's why fasting is so good. And then we talk about when you're not feeding your body, the body goes into autophagy. It's like saying, I got to clean up my old stuff so that I can reserve energy for the stuff that are vital, important, like your brain and your heart and your stem cells. That's why fasting is so good, and so much data is coming out. That's why fasting is amazing. You're exactly right. Let's see. So we've got a few questions there. Let's see. It's over here. How does electrolyte imbalance affect the brain function? Okay, look. So, when I was in my late 30s and I was dehydrated, I felt lack of energy. Now, is that lack of energy at the mitochondrial level, in the physiological level, or the brain level? The answer is we don't know. But the bottom line is that's why I find that intracellular fluid is a very, very good test, because if your intracellular fluid is off by quite a bit, then it's likely that whether you stay hydrated or not, if you're not holding the fluid in your cells, you may as well say you're not hydrated. But so real quick, to keep it at a simple level, the simple way to say is that if you're thirsty, drink water. If you're not peeing, you need to drink more water. If you're peeing but it's dark, drink more water. And, some people don't feel thirst, so you have to make observations. The other observation is to just look at your tongue. It needs to be pink and shiny. So if it's not shiny, you lost some fluid. If it's furry, it could be that you're just really, really parched, like sandpaper. Like my cat, when it tries to lick you. It's like sandpaper. Anyway, that's just a secondary. So electrolytes for the brain. I don't think we're sophisticated enough to know, if your cells and your brain are hydrated or not. We barely know how to measure the brain temperature. We can do EEG, we can do voltages. There's a lot of things, non-invasive things that we can do. But as far as hydration and cellular fluid in your brain, I don't know. But the brain function will go down when your intracellular fluid is lacking. Your brain function will go down if you are hypovolemic. That means you're dehydrated. If your urine is really dark, or you're not even peeing. So when we're fasting, we don't pee because we're conserving it. But there's just so many other amazing things about fasting, that it's a temporary stress and a long-term benefit. So there are short-term stresses, but long-term benefit. That's why fasting is such a great thing. Okay, so thank you for those kind words, and the information I try to give you is going to be very much on a realistic, practical, day-by-day stuff. So not only do I have the lab evidence as a physician, but I also know quite a bit about functional medicine and natural medicine, but I'm able to link the two together. So really, very interesting. I'll just summarize again. The 5 secrets of slowing down the aging process is to keep yourself biologically young by keeping your brain young, keeping your heart young, keeping your blood vessels young, keeping your immune system young, keeping your liver young. And that is very, very important, because they go hand in hand. When you're biologically older, it so happens that those people tend to have fatty liver. Those people have stiff blood vessels. They have, the coronary disease. So that advanced cardiac test doesn't look so pretty. These are very, very important. And so liver, blood vessel, heart, coronary arteries, that is, the brain function, and the immune is based on individual antioxidants, and together they make up the total antioxidant function. So I made this observation a long time ago when people used to come in under stress, and I would see that their measurements of antioxidant function would be low, and it wasn't like 1 or 2. Almost all of them had low antioxidant function, because stress is a huge burden on the immune system. So you can have stress from lack of sleep, you can have emotional stress, you can have financial stress, you can have physical endurance stress from sports, or just chronic infection. Any and all stress will deplete your antioxidants. So we measure the individual antioxidants like vitamin C. We measure the individual antioxidants like cysteine and selenium and CoQ10 and vitamin E. And there are other antioxidants that are fat soluble. Like I mentioned vitamin E, but even CoQ10 is an antioxidant that's fat soluble. So vitamin D has antioxidant function. So it's important to have all the antioxidants, because didn't I bring up the word oxidation is a real risk factor? Well, oxidation can be countered with your antioxidants. So your fruits and vegetables, the things that are healthy for you, those are the things that are good for your liver, good for your gut, good for your immune system, good for your brain, good for your heart. So just a quick analogy is that if you have berries, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, these are high in polyphenols, which are good for your blood vessels. Why? Because they create vasodilation. There are other ways to make your blood vessels soft and vasodilate. Number one, feed yourself good fats and fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin E, vitamin D, as well as vitamin C, but fats, like the plant fats, these are high in sterols. And so fish oil would be a great addition to keep your blood vessels soft and healthy. What's the opposite of soft and healthy? Stiff and hard. And the stiff and hard blood vessels increase the risk of stroke. So when people talk about blood pressure being a risk of stroke, it's because persistent blood pressure that is not addressed results in stiff blood vessels. So I see many patients with blood pressure, but if their blood vessels are soft, I would bet that they are less likely to have stroke than somebody with blood pressure and stiff blood vessels. All right. So some more questions here. Let's see here. Sorry about that. A little bit shaking around. So are drinking energy drinks bad if they are zero sugar and have vitamins? Right. So look, I would just say that not everything's equal, so I'd have to read the ingredients. But as far as energy drinks, if they are going to promise energy, then they're more than likely going to give you rapid energy. That's caffeine. So I think very short term might be good, like before an exam might be good. If you're driving and you can't stay awake, that might be good. But when they say zero sugar, just make sure that sugar substitute isn't always the healthiest thing. So we have studies on aspartame. Aspartame is the stuff that they started using in Diet Coke and Diet Ice Cream and Diet this, Diet that. So the microbes use aspartame and then send the signal for you to gain weight. So the more aspartame you use, the greater the weight gain. And so this no wonder that people who need to lose weight consume the largest amounts of aspartame and they actually gain even more weight. So it's really how you feed your microbes. So I don't think that the body is dumb, will not stay dumb for long. It'll figure out what you're doing and find a way around it. Any word on fish oil tablets? Yeah, we will definitely talk about that. So, and also the patients discontinue the vitamin tablets from some time, then again start a few days, especially taking vitamin C. Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, vitamins are natural, so if you stop them suddenly, nothing's going to happen. If you take them suddenly, nothing's going to happen. And that's why when people say, I take these vitamins and I feel great, it's like, that's probably placebo, because it takes days, weeks, and months to build up the levels, because everything that we talk about is intracellular, because your function of your cells is got to be inside the cell. The mitochondria is inside the cell. The DNA is inside the nucleus, which is inside the cell. So when we talk about things that we consume, it just can't go in and out of the cells. The only things that go in and out of the cells are electrolytes. Your sodium, your potassium, your chloride, your bicarbonate, the pH. These are the things that can go in and out rapidly. But your B complexes, your amino acids, your antioxidants, your minerals, they can't go in and out, and rightly so. Your body, your cells would be very dysfunctional if that was the case. And aspartame, can interfere with so many things, which then can lead to bad things. Can high levels of bilirubin in the blood cause anxiety, or can anxiety cause high levels of bilirubin? So bilirubin is a component of blood or red cells. So when anything damages red cells, you can get more bilirubin. Bilirubin is something that is processed in the liver. So if there's any issues with the liver, so I would say that you really need to consult your doctor and figure out that first. Now, if you're an otherwise healthy person and your bilirubin is high, then you have to understand that we have what's called a reference range. And reference range means that up to 95% of the people will be in that range, but 5% will be above or below, and they're still normal. So it just depends. And it depends. If you have jaundice and you have high bilirubin, that's a problem. If you have anemia and you have high bilirubin, that's a problem. So you can't take it in isolation. You have to consult your doctor and look at the bigger picture. I take fish oil pills every day with my joints and krill. That's a very, very good idea, because your joints are not immune to the impact of your immune system, and your immune system is what will keep inflammation down. And so that's why when I give fish oil with antioxidants, I get a reduction in inflammation, and I think that's happening because we are supporting the immune system. More information on helping our liver. The best way to help your liver would be to make sure that you don't stress it by eating a bad diet. So anything that's bad in your diet, it has to get transported into the bloodstream, and that will result in a bigger burden on your liver. So any toxins that go through the liver is now going to be burdening the liver. So its ability to function in immune function, in making clotting factors, in processing carbohydrates and fats and other things like that are going to be impaired. And that's something that doctors fail to understand, is that if they think the liver is normal, everything's fine and dandy, only when they have elevated liver enzymes. So liver function tests should be termed liver damage test, because the liver functions are based on AST, ALT. They are released in the blood when there's damage to the liver. So when we have a range, it's not a normal range. It's just a reference range. People have to fit into that area. So over the years, the range keeps changing because people's thyroid is getting less functional. People's livers are getting less functional. So they keep broadening that range to get people into that 95% of the people into that range. So by no means is it a normal range. It's just a reference range. That's why when you have liver enzymes, it's incorrect to call it liver function. But when something has been around forever, it's hard to change the name. You just have to re-educate yourself and re-educate your doctor that no, doctor, these are not liver function tests. These are liver damage cells. So if I keep those liver numbers, the AST, ALT on the lower level of normal, then I'm in better shape. And I can tell you hands down, that's a fact. When I am healthy, my liver enzymes are in the 50 percentile of that reference range. When I'm unhealthy, it's in the upper 2/3 of that range, so it's a very dynamic thing. It does not stay, nothing stays the same. Now, hi there, Jocelyn. That's great that you're joining us. Can we talk about glutathione? But I thought you'd never ask about glutathione. That's great. So glutathione is just a phenomenal tool to have. So the way I look at it is that as an MD, I just have a bigger toolbox. And in my bigger toolbox, I can deliver more therapies. That's the way I look at it. So what is the number one thing that your producers, that is the most powerful antioxidant? It's called glutathione. So if your liver is producing it, there has to be a reason. So before I answer the question about is glutathione good for the skin, let me tell you the story that I always tell everybody. In the emergency room, the number one reason for liver failure is when people take Tylenol overdose, because it depletes the body of glutathione, the liver goes into failure, and you will die by bleeding to death. So we can reverse that by giving something called N-acetylcysteine. We call it mucomist, which then the liver uses to produce glutathione. If we understand that in the medical world, why don't we understand that measuring the glutathione levels is vitally important for not only the liver function, but we do know that low glutathione levels are synonymous with more cancer, more heart disease, more arthritis, and advanced aging. In fact, one of the ways I look at the liver age is to be able to not only look at liver enzymes, but look at liver toxicity and look at really the function is ultimately its ability to produce glutathione. But if it's being burdened with a fat diet, if it's been burdened with a junk food diet, if your gut flora, the microbial flora, the health of your gut is bad, if you have leaky gut, then you are going to put a big burden on the liver, which means that it cannot produce, or it will use up its glutathione. So it's less glutathione for the brain, less glutathione for every cellular detoxification process. Every cell has to have detoxification, because whole point of metabolism on a cellular basis is to produce byproducts, and they have to be eliminated, and the master antioxidant is glutathione. So not only does your liver need it, but every single cell needs it, and that's why people that have high glutathione levels are generally much more healthy, and when you're healthy, you have better skin. Glutathione also has a special property, which is to stop the production of melanin by blocking tyrosinase, which is an enzyme that converts tyrosine to melanin. So by having less activity of tyrosinase, you have less melanin, so your skin can become lighter. But usually we don't do it for cosmetic reasons alone. We're all about health on the inside first, and then we look at cosmetics on the outside, and we have many, many tools for that. Not least topical agents, not least laser treatments and microneedling and many, many other things. But it's always about health on the inside. What good is it for me to work on the skin if there's inflammation in my body or inflammation in the patient? What good is it for me to rejuvenate somebody's skin when there's toxicity and oxidation? Because the results won't be as good and they won't last as long. So I get better results on my cosmetic therapies because I make the body healthy first. That's the right way to do it, and that's the best way to do it, and that's the best way for you to get better results that last longer. How important is water intake in terms of detoxification? It's very, very important, because when you are adequately hydrated, then not only can your liver conjugate, which is to make things water soluble, then once it's water soluble, then the kidneys can eliminate them. So it's very important to stay hydrated. So very, very good questions. So we've probably got another 15 minutes, so let's keep the questions coming. And then I know some people who never drink water, that's like me, and only drink Pepsi. No, that's not me. Is there any way to reverse it? Yeah, of course, anything is reversible. It only takes 30 days to reverse literally everything. Certainly to put a halt on the bad stuff. So I would encourage everybody when they're ready to make that change. And yeah, because the biggest problem with the Pepsis and the drinks is the high fructose corn syrup, because it's not just the calories in, calories out. The fructose is actually very detrimental, especially for people with fatty liver or genetics for fatty liver. So if you have a genetic SNP called ApoC, not only can you have high cholesterol, you're more prone to fatty liver. So those people should definitely stay away from high fructose corn syrup, and your sodas are high in that. I have a patient, Dr. SF. I have a patient whose age is around 70. He suffered from sodium imbalance, not uncommon, till 105, and now recovering at 125/30. What is your advice? It's very difficult, very challenging. My own mother, who's 82, has low sodium. You know, it's complicated because hers, I think, started becoming a little bit of a problem when she had her stroke. And so, you know, the ADH, that's antidiuretic hormone in the brain, the hypothalamus, the posterior pituitary, is very, very important in regulating, you know, the urinary concentrations and also regulating sodium. So I think it's very, very complicated. But the main thing is that when people are low in sodium, we have to restrict pure water intake, because water dilutes the blood further. So we need to think about, you know, in my mother's case, we make sure she has enough Himalayan salt, because, you know, salt gets a bad rap. So if you have Celtic salt, Himalayan salt, if you have salt that has minerals in it, there's nothing wrong with it. It's the pure sodium chloride that raises your blood pressure, which is just like saying, you know, white flour. So when you take the sodium chloride by itself, then you have all the problems. But if you have the sodium as part of a big mineral mix in your salt intake, in Celtic salt or Himalayan salt, or better still, what I would say is that that, you know, you can encourage better sodium by having better minerals as a whole. So minerals means magnesium, chromium, vanadium, zinc, copper, the whole works, you know. So I think that when you balance out minerals, so as a doctor, you know that when somebody's magnesium is low, when we see people's potassium low in the hospital and we replace it and it goes low again and again, is because, you know, potassium and magnesium go hand in hand. So until you raise the magnesium, the potassium is very, very temporary. So I believe that the sodium is going to be related to your pituitary, the brain health. It's going to be related to the kidney health, and both of those are going to be linked with your mineral health. And the mineral health is very much dependent on the gut health, because when you don't have adequate acid in your stomach, and that could be because you're unhealthy, you have acid reflux, or worse still, you're taking proton pump inhibitors like Prilosec, Prevacid, Protonic. Without the acid, you cannot absorb minerals. So I think we need to look at the whole spectrum of the gut health and the mineral balance, and then the state of the kidneys, and then the state of the brain. So sorry, long-winded answer. Very, very good question, a little bit medical. And then a stroke is something so hard to go through. Exactly. My mother's a strong-willed person, so it's a test, and she's every day is a challenge, but she is up for the test, and that's her test in life. So she is, for the time being, holding up well, alhamdulillah. Which painkillers do you recommend, Doc, if you have some sort of pain? Temporary painkiller of any kind is reasonably okay. You know, I favor Tylenol because I think it's safer than the NSAIDs, in the sense that NSAIDs are the number one reason for GI bleeding and hospitalization, particularly for the elderly. So, you know, Tylenol isn't without side effect. You know, as I said, Tylenol is a toxin on the liver, and as you know, the metabolites of Tylenol will use up glutathione. So, but I still think that Tylenol is going to be safer. And if you use those in moderation for anything, it's okay. It's when you use it every day that you need to understand the consequences. So NSAIDs like aspirin, ibuprofen, Aleve, these can burn the stomach, so you can get ulcers. And it's not if, it's when it's going to happen. So the older you are, the more likely you are. So that's one of the things you must advise, whether you're a doctor or not, you must advise against that wherever possible. What were you talking about PPIs in your advice? So the PPIs are the proton pump inhibitors like Protonix, Prevacid, Prilosec, Acifex. When they block the acid, without acid you cannot absorb minerals. Minerals meaning iron, minerals meaning magnesium, calcium. So that's why we now know, my English is not great, we now know that after 20, 30 years of using these PPIs, you actually are contributing to osteoporosis. Using PPIs after all these years, you're more likely to get small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. That means the quality of your gut microbes is altered, which then it will affect your immune system. These medications, if they're taken for a long time, like years, they will also impact and the ability to make nitric oxide, which means that your blood pressure will go higher. And so without nitric oxide, you get erections problems as well. So long before high blood pressure, nitric oxide goes down. It's going to be worse when you don't have nitrates in your diet, your green leafy vegetables. It's going to be worse if you're on PPIs for that. Okay, I know that a lot of people want to go live. I'm sorry, I just can't go live. I made a mess of getting back into my Instagram. So good, very, very good questions, very engaging. I'm glad. This is wonderful. How important is water intake in terms of detoxification? I think we answered that, so that's good. I'm repeating it. So just in summary again, there are many ways to look at aging. I didn't want to repeat the things I've already said. What I think about aging is that every time your cell divides, it's aging. You can't really change that too much, except the fact that when you have inflammation and infection, you're going to keep turning over cells to deal with those things. So you can kind of slow down the cell division by not making your body over stress. So over exercise, your cells will have to turn over. You'll age faster. If you look at the people who do endurance sports, they look old. I mean, their heart may be super big and very healthy, and their resting heart rate may be 40, but they're not healthy. And so because health is more than just being able to run a marathon. And so on that note, what I was trying to say is that that I had talked about aging is no more than cells dividing, but it's the accumulation of old senescent cells that linger around, and having too many lingering around actually ages you faster than you realize. And the way to get rid of it is the things I talked about. Now, if you do all the right things for your brain age and your heart age and your blood vessel age and your liver age and your immune system age, you can be pretty sure that you can keep those senescent cells down. And you can keep the damaging things that make your cells turn over a lot, you can keep them down. They're interconnected. So let's not forget that. So let's see if there's any final few questions before we end on this note. So I will approach aging from multiple different areas. So not only can I measure the biological, the true age, the epigenetic age, I can also look at all the things that impacted. And they talk about environment. Well, exercise is the environment. Your diet is your environment. Sleep is your environment. So those are the things that impact the health of your brain and your gut and your liver. I didn't mention gut, right? The gut and liver go hand in hand. So I can only mention so many, but they're all interconnected. So I appreciate everybody joining. I think there's a final question or two here. The 5 secrets to slowing down, the 5 organ systems, right? The brain age, the immune age, the heart age, the blood vessel age. This is very, very important. Now, the 5 things that I would do is, I'll give you my basics and I'll give you a little explanation. Number 1, don't damage your sleep. Sleep. Don't damage it. When it's damaged, then you can't always get it back after a period of time. Number 2, don't put the bad stuff in. I know when you're younger, you can cheat a little bit, but when you grow up a little bit and you feel like you can make the change, don't put the bad stuff in. That's far worse than not putting in the good stuff. But then eat the good foods, good things that feed your microbe. And then number 4 is to supplement. You got to supplement to optimize your health. No good just having your vitamin D less than 30. It's no good at all. Having vitamin C that's low, glutathione that's low. These all collectively contribute to your aging process. But really, the number 1 thing is to reduce the caloric intake as a whole. No arguments about that slowing down aging. Then if you do time feeding or intermittent fasting, there is strong evidence that that not only can lower inflammation and your blood pressure and your blood sugar, but it can also, and your cholesterol, but it can also activate the longevity genes called sirtuins. So then you can feed antioxidants. Resveratrol is an antioxidant. So antioxidants support not only keeping oxidation down, which is an aging factor, but it can also support the longevity genes like sirtuin. So resveratrol is an antioxidant. But if you use the right form of vitamin B3, then you can get NAD to fuel the resveratrol. So I can't say enough good things about fasting, because fasting activates your growth hormone, liberates amino acids, detoxifies your body. Autophagy is to get rid of those old cells. So that's the secret is really to sleep well, wake up feeling rested, don't put too much food into your body, time it and intermittently fast. And when you eat, try to eat primarily plant-based, but healthy animal proteins like wild fish and grass-fed meats. That's the way to go. Moderation. Get your fats from your seeds, your nuts if you can, if you don't have allergies. Get them from olives and avocados and coconut oil and olive oil. Get them from healthy fats. Healthy fats are actually anti-inflammatory. It's the processed fats, the high in omega-6. They're so high, it's pro-inflammatory. And omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. So these are the secrets. So 5 secrets are, sleeping, don't put the bad foods in, put the good foods in, then supplement. And of those lifestyle, I would say that after sleeping, not putting the bad food in, but then not eating too much, too often, and then fasting periodically. So intermittent stresses are the next thing to slow down aging. And as I boast, my biological age is 10 years younger than my real age. Why? Because intermittent stress comes from different sources. So fasting is an intermittent stress. That's why it activates longevity genes. Exercise, particularly high intensity interval training, activates longevity genes. We don't know that for sure, but we know the health benefits of high intensity interval training. Heat shock proteins are made from heat. So from exercise and saunas, they are hands down good for you, not only for detoxification. The Finland study showed less heart disease for people who use saunas on a regular basis. So this temporary stress of not eating too much, exercising, heat, even cold probably, is the fact, right? Having 8 meals a day, having a nice cushy lifestyle, that is not the answer. Yeah, lower your stress, I get that. All right, so that was hopefully that finished on a positive note. And final question here, Doc, how do you recommend mammogram in women over 50? Well, I have to, as a doctor, recommend it. But by the time you find it, billions of cells have already formed, billions of cancer cells potentially have already formed. So I'd like to find it at a molecular level. That's why having a biological age is far more important at preventing all cancers. By the time you see it on a CAT scan or MRI or a mammogram, billions of cells are already there. Nobody's going to say that's early. Well, not people like me anyway. Okay, great. Thanks again. Complimentary words. Good. Wonderful. I really enjoyed it, and I want to, as I said, talk about aging from a third angle. I haven't decided how I'm going to approach that one, but we definitely will. But you can be sure that it's not going to be in isolation. It's got to be related to lifestyle. So if you like what you see, then share it with everybody. We need people to be engaged, and if you want to have some good questions ready for the next live, then message me. But please do share this information, and remember that if you have family and friends that have issues, I'm willing to do remote consultations, and we'll give you good advice, whether it's your doctor or your chiropractor, whoever it is. All right, and that's Jocelyn again. Yeah. You'd like to schedule an appointment, yeah, just reach out to my office. My phone number for the office is 703-724-4000, 703-724-4000. That's for both Maryland and Virginia. It's a central number. And just for people on my bio, you'll see my my website and things like that. But it's www.nexthealth.com or nexthealthmed.com. Either one. And okay, well, that's enough information, I think. Thank you very much for joining. Appreciate everything. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.